All right, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Fans Union for the fans by the fans. Join my lovely guests. We got a lot.
We throwing up the U for Miami and the Union, man. This for y'all. This for the fans, bro. Don't ever get it
That's
twisted,
true.
man.
You
This
know what?
y'all
We
shit, man.
might have
This
to
not this
incorporate
shit.
that.
This y'all shit, man.
Well, we got quite a bit that happened this past weekend. Definitely some big stuff coming up. So before we get into that, fellas, how we feeling?
I'm ready, baby. Let's get it.
Well, given
I'm ready as well. I'm double down.
Yeah. I say, I guess I'll just speak for everybody.
No, I had a feeling Logan was gonna kind of move in reverse, maybe, run a little reverse sweep and talk about Ole Miss being the team in first place in the SEC again this week, but to start the episode instead of ending the episode that way. But have the standings moved, Logan? I'm not even being funny. Is it still the same, or is Ole Miss number one SEC still?
Yeah,
I
There we go.
think,
we're still
um,
undefeated. We
Yeah,
didn't
that's what
play
I'm saying.
SEC.
So I figure he was gonna pop his shit at the beginning, with the time and occasion, but I know he'll get
No, no,
into it.
that I say that
I'll
at the
give
end
him
of
some
every
time for
episode.
that. I'm trying to jump the gun, OG. My bad, my bad.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. We
think
say that
right
for the end.
now,
Now, don't spoil it.
I think right now, funny
Hey,
enough,
it couldn't be a better time to be an Ole Miss fan right now. I'll tell you that much for sure. All bullshit aside, man.
What you was about to say, Joey?
I was gonna say right now. I know it's not SEC standing changing, but right now the highest ranked SEC team is A&M.
That's what I was
Oh
saying.
yeah,
I
no.
thought maybe some things had shifted a little bit, but
They're
Oh
both
no.
undefeated in the
Time out.
conference, so
I've been saying this since week 2. Ole Miss was like the 5th best SEC team in week 2. I was talking about SEC standings the whole time saying this.
that's what
I
I
was
thought.
saying with conference play.
That's what I thought.
But hey, I got one more week to say it, so save it to the end of the episode. Why are we spoiling
Yeah,
shit now?
okay.
Come on.
Who knows? Well,
no, Logan see my vision, bro. He get what I'm saying. That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Hey, I'm gonna get it in.
well,
I said I'm gonna say it until I can't. All right, so we're gonna wait till the end of the
That's
episode. Let me
yeah,
wrap
yeah,
it up
yeah.
how I do
I
my
like
thing.
that. I like that. I like that energy, man, for sure. Just like I'm gonna say, we the SEC champs until I can't. Let's roll, Joey.
yeah, that's true.
That's fair. Fair is
Um,
fair.
well, speaking of said team and the team that three of the four of us are currently sporting on camera right now, love that. Um, I think may have not been the biggest game going into it this weekend, but probably ended up being the most talked about game this weekend. Um, Georgia and Auburn. That is obviously Georgia walks away with a 20-10 lead or 20-10 win. Excuse me. I'm just gonna kind of get my points off real quick and then let us all take over because I'm sure we've all got a lot to say about this one. But I do want to start off by saying Graham said it when I picked Auburn to win last week. Which again, I always want to be wrong if I pick against Georgia. Um, Glad I was wrong. Graham said something. Hey, this game, like you got to win this game with some heart, right? And that's what Georgia plays with. I'm like, yeah, of course. Well, what I saw in that Auburn team after the fumble, controversial fumble, and then them playing the most undisciplined brand of football for the rest of the quarter, that showed me that they don't have it. When you play a team like Georgia, if this is boxing, you better have more than a knockout punch because if that knockout punch doesn't do the kill shot immediately, you got to have something else. Auburn had nothing but a kill shot. They had a script, and I was listening to Brooks' show on Sunday, and he was saying that he heard from somebody who was around. He's like, "Dang, these guys are running all over y'all. What's going on?" And then the guy's like, "They're about to run out of plays," and he's like, they're out of juice." And once they got through that script, and if you notice, there were no explosive plays that happened. It was all chunked, like 5 yards here, 10 yards here, 8 yards here, 2 yards here, etc. Um, and once that happened, they got through that. They had nothing. The adjustments, obviously, we want them to come a little sooner, but they do come. And this is an offense that has so many. guys that can really make a big play, like Singleton and Coleman. And it's kind of crazy. Singleton leaves that game with 3 catches on a game when Georgia still can't really get pressure on a quarterback. But Jackson Arnold, I think, showed he's got some work to do. There are 3 gimme balls that he missed in his second half that could have put them in a totally different position in the game. But I'm gonna kind of am I rambling by saying, for my Auburn fans or anybody who comes away from that game saying the refs screwed us, you're watching the wrong sport or you have the wrong expectations. I watched Georgia last year, up 23-8, throw that interception that was called for a pass interference, and then after a barrage of beer cans and bottles thrown on the field, was overturned totally illegally, and went down there 23-15 instead of going, continuing the drive at 23-8. That team got punched in the mouth right there and said, no, this isn't how it's going, and walked down in the fourth quarter, walk down the field, death march, go up 30-15. You, Auburn, what you did was get a ball that was punched out. They made the right call. The right call was made. Instead of going to 17-0, you got on 10-3. You know what you go into halftime with? The lead. You had the lead. You did not respond. You got outplayed in every facet. After I saw Hugh at halftime say, all these stoppages, they think they let us play, whatever. After I knew they were done. I knew that team had no heart. I knew they had no mental toughness. And I came away knowing that any game you play against Georgia, you better have some, or you're not going to win this game. And they did not have any. And if I hear any more about that freaking timeout crap, they walked away from that Georgia walked away from that with no points. Meant nothing, bearing the game. So Auburn fans or anybody who is blaming the refs for that game, we watched 2 different games because I watched an offense that put up 15 yards in 28 minutes of a half. So that's kind of where I'll just lay it out with. I could have honestly ran on that one for 20 minutes, but I want to hear what my lovely colleagues have to say.
Graham, you want to kick us off? You want me to go for it?
Sure, why don't you lead us away, man? You got the fresh cut. I feel like it's only
that is true. I think it's shining.
All right. Well, first and foremost, I think another really important thing that Graham said last week, aside from, it's going to come down to a team that has the most heart, is this is a coaching matchup that was very, very lopsided. And if there's one thing about a team under Kirby Smart, they're not going to quit. And I think, if I look back at the preseason, because me and another good friend of all of ours, we sat down before the season started and went through every game of our team and then some other teams and circled some games. We were like, I could see this one going bad. I think this is a guaranteed win, whatever. Auburn was one that I circled. I mean, and our friend, who I won't say their name, but was like, you're crazy. And I'm like, trust me, going in there at night is not going to be easy. And I think a lot of people underestimate, like a lot of people say, yeah, but they're unranked. You can't look at just that. Like the margin of victory in the SEC right now is 10.7 points a game right now across the entire league. That NFL average is 10.8. So if that tells you anything about how close spreads are and everything in the NFL and how it's anybody's game any week, it's looking like that with the SEC. Now, obviously, you have your clear favorites. Like if Alabama is at home against Arkansas, Alabama's probably going to cover the spread. That's not what I'm trying to get at. But these are going to be great matchups no matter what. I'm going to start with that. And I'm going to give Auburn their respect because they did fight for the first 2 quarters of this game. I'm still annoyed by seeing Georgia show up in the third quarter. That's where my frustration still lies. And y'all know this. I'm the stat guy, and I got plenty of them for this segment. I'm not going to go on a rant, but statistically in the SEC, in the first half, Georgia has the 12th worst defense in the SEC. 12th worst. In the second half,
and just for clarity, that's 12 out of 16.
Yeah, exactly. 12th worst in the SEC in the first half when it comes to yards allowed per play. In the second half, they have the best defense in the SEC. So we know Glenn Schumann has a game plan with these guys. We know that the guys are capable
Trip,
of
I
making
thought we were
stops.
right behind A&M. Not to cut you off. I thought we were in second behind A&M, bro.
Number one, bro. Number one. I think us and A&M have the same amount of yards allowed per play, but when it comes to defensive efficiency percentage, Georgia beats them by like 2%. Something I was reading up on the other day. But so we know that these guys have the capability of stopping these offenses, especially a team like Auburn. It's just taken too long to get that ball rolling. Now, I'm glad that it's happening in the second half instead of the first half, personally, but you saw that recipe still didn't work against Alabama. So going into weeks like this week with Ole Miss, who has a powerhouse of an offense, that shit ain't going to cut it. And I know we're going to get into matchups later and we're going to pick our predictions and stuff, but that's what worries me the most about this Georgia team. Two other things I want to touch on real quick, and then I'll pass it over to you, Graham. On a positive note, I do want to give Mr. Kirby Smart his flowers where they're deserved. Kirby Smart is now 110-20, which is the most wins by an FBS coach in his first 10 seasons in the modern era. So that's a huge accomplishment. Especially taking one from Auburn this past week. And I don't know how much everybody that watches this show keeps up with the after game press conferences, but Kirby made it a point that this is a very important game to him. His dad is from Auburn. Him and his son traveled around, went to the baseball field that's named after his dad before this game, said it was a very emotional game for him. So I'm glad that this is what made that mark for him personally. But the other stat I wanted to bring up, I see a lot of people complaining about a lot of things that happened in this game from like an Auburn fan perspective, aside from the obvious fumble controversy, whatever. Even if Auburn scores a touchdown that drive, you still lose, by the way. I don't know if y'all realize that, but you still would have lost the game. So just wanted to point that out, number one. Number two.
You're saying mathematically you still lose that game if you don't.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Jackson Arnold has not thrown an interception at all this season, and I'm pretty sure it's over his last like 350 passes since the end of last season. And
True.
he is
it was
ranked
his last 31 starts. Jackson Arnold has not thrown an interception over his last 31 football starts. I don't think it was. It was something crazy like that. Dead ass.
Yeah. So Jackson Arnold is ranked dead last in passer rating in the SEC, and he has 0 interceptions. So what does that tell you about your quarterback? Yeah, he might not throw any picks, but he's probably not the most efficient guy in the world. Now, Jackson Arnold was a pretty big name coming out of the portal this last year, and I definitely think Auburn upgraded by getting Jackson Arnold this year. I'm not saying that they didn't, but there's a lot of other problems aside from Hugh Freeze that lie within this Auburn team. They have some weapons. They just don't have that it factor, in my opinion. But nonetheless, I'm going to leave it at that. Huge win for Georgia. This was a tough road game, especially with the slate that we have coming up that we had to win. We're looking forward to the playoff. But, Graham, I'm going to let you go ahead and take it over.
Graham, before you go, I do want to point out another stat when you're talking about coaching in his Auburn team, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. You may bring up penalties. I want to let it be known. The refs that screwed Auburn. Now, I've seen Auburn get some bad officiating, especially in that Oklahoma game. There was some egregious stuff, 100%. But where are we at? Auburn on the year is 3rd in the country in penalties. They have the 3rd most penalties behind South Carolina, and number 1 is Georgia State.
Not a category you want to be in.
Yeah. So Auburn, clearly this is not an indication of the refs who did call a bad game. Refs were not good that game. But this is who Auburn is. 55 penalties in 6 games. That's almost 10 a game. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry, Graham. Continue.
No need to apologize, man. Actually, I want to thank you and Trip both for kind of laying up the platform that y'all gave me, the way that y'all did to open up the episode, because y'all hit on a lot of points that we would be remiss not to bring up. But can I rant a little bit? Can I get like 2?
Whatever you want to do.
Give me like 2 and some change, Logan. You good with that, OG?
Hey, you got it, bro.
Let me say something, man. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. And, you know, if you are a listener, a regular listener at that, you know that I don't only just support the Jets. I support the Mets. I support the Nets. I support Tottenham. Let me tell you something, man. I will never beat on a dead horse. I'll never beat on a man while he's down, man. There's no respect in that. There's nothing to, commend a man about beating on another man while he's down. So let me make something clear to every Auburn fan who may listen to this before I get into my little rant. There's a lot of facets about y'all's program that I respect the hell out of. I respect the fact that y'all consistently kind of put y'all's foot up Alabama's ass more regularly than people give y'all credit for. People talk shit about my own team's head coach this exact week for standing on top of a medical fucking little Humvee, a little medical fucking golf cart, and flipping his fucking visor around because he's happy, and rightfully so, for beating a rival. And I saw an Alabama fan. Now, multiple people ended up making a tweet similar to this, but I actually saw an Alabama fan tweet this exact fucking tweet that I'm about to, kind of reference. People said Saban would never hop on top of that little medical Humvee and flip his visor around for beating a fucking, for a regular season beating Auburn. And an Alabama fan said, Saban never went 9-0 against Auburn. Now, look, don't get it twisted. Nobody on this podcast is trying to push the narrative that Kirby is better than Saban or that Saban is not the GOAT. But it shows you the parity that Tripp was just referencing that's relevant within this season, but it's always been relevant within this sport. Even, it doesn't matter what sphere of this game you want to kind of train your lenses to and look at and focus in on. That guy can't do everything that this guy can do. When you get into that top echelon, there's always traits that make these guys special. So I'm going to end my rant off by saying, Auburn fans, I respect y'all for kind of being the little brother who fights hard against Bama. I respect y'all for being the team that hosted arguably the greatest college player that I've ever seen have a single successful season in 1 year with Cam Newton. But the act that y'all done put on this week with this bullshit about this fuck-ass fumble, that's clearly not only did one human knock the fucking ball out legally, two did. I done seen HD, 4K, Japanese, Portuguese, Bama, who got him? I done seen a nigga in Spanish tell me this ball got knocked out legally. Not only that, my colleagues here done brought up the fact that y'all stupid asses ain't score a single motherfucking point, not one numerical fucking digit that y'all put on the fucking board after this fucking fumble. But y'all talking about a fumble. Y'all talking about a play call. Y'all talking about a ref call, or this call, or that call, a bird call. Every call. Auburn fans talking about somebody did this and did that to them. Y'all didn't do one thing for yourself. Y'all didn't do one thing for yourself. Not 1 point.
That boy's in the Delphi tonight.
I love the C. Miller. I love how Christian Miller did the heartbreak emoji at the end because it perfectly summarizes how this loss has got to feel for the fan base. All five of y'all who are responsible and mature enough to really walk away from this game and internalize the fact that if you want to be a serious ball club, you can't walk away from this game saying anyone lost this game for y'all than yourselves. Y'all played a hell of a ball game that first half. Y'all played us off the field at that. And that's a fact. But for y'all to shit the fucking egg that y'all shit in this second half and act like anybody else is to blame is crazy to me, bro. This program is not as bad as I'm not even going to get into naming specific programs because I don't want to turn this into something. I don't want to get away from my point, Joey. Joe, you know me since I was like 11, bro. You know I'm not just trying to blow smoke. Auburn is acting like a team that's more ass than the team that they actually put out on the field with how they acting from this loss. They acting like Vandy would act like to me. I'm gonna mute my mic at that.
No, I mean you're first off, what you got in the bag there. Let's not front on that. You got in the bag there. Said a lot of words that I can never articulate in that fashion. But at the end of the day, no, you're right. It's this team. First, I want to go back to the Kirby Smart point. It's so funny how fans want coaches that show emotion, that get into it on the sideline, but when that emotion manifests into a win over a big rival, over one of your biggest rivals, and an emotional moment like it was, like Tripp said with his dad, and like what it is, and then they show that. Like also, Kirby Smart is not even 50 years old. You're comparing what a 65-year-old would have done. Nick Saban won. I mean, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be this guy, but Nick Saban didn't have 2 championships before he was 50. You know what I mean?
Why are we comparing Kirby to Nick Saban anyway?
I totally agree with that. That just shows the class that he's in amongst everyone else.
Nobody compares to Nick Saban. Just because he's under 100%. His coaching tree doesn't mean.
While the iron is hot, Logan, do you got anything that you want to throw in on this? Because I always can appreciate the fact that you aren't a Georgia fan. I love hearing your takes about anything dealing with Georgia because you're not a Georgia fan.
So I got more to say about Auburn than Georgia. The thing that I have to say about Georgia is their leading rusher is Stockton with 26 yards, and Auburn lost the football game. Stockton threw 0 touchdowns, threw 217 yards, and Auburn lost the football game. Jackson Arnold kind of going off Tripp saying, yeah, he doesn't throw interceptions, but he's also thrown for an average of 4.4 yards per completion in this game. You're not winning football games in the SEC playing like that. I don't care. Like, taking care of the football is amazing. I absolutely don't give them extra possessions. However, one thing that made Ole Miss good when Hugh Freeze was there was he threw the ball downfield. Where is that? Like, I keep hearing, I think it's you, Joe. You keep talking about Cam Coleman's a dog. Hugh Freeze, when he had guys like Laquan Treadwell and like A.J. Brown for that freshman year, DK, I mean, like, he had some guys. DeMario Stringfellow was really good for us a couple of years. We had I'm blanking because it's so long ago at this point. But, I mean, he had a handful of receivers at Ole Miss.
Logan, he did it all first half, though, bro. I can't think of a coach who executed a game plan in their first half better than Freeze did this week, bro.
And that's another thing I'm about to touch on. Hugh Freeze has a special place in my heart, no doubt about it. Like, I think he is part of the reason why we are what we are today. I think he proved that you can build a winner at Ole Miss, and that opens the door for a guy like Lane Kiffin to go to Ole Miss. And, you know, that's a whole nother story about Lane Kiffin falling in love with Ole Miss and, you know, choosing to stay with us instead of going to a school like Auburn, LSU, et cetera. But it's what blows my mind is, like, Hugh Freeze still can't play with the lead. That he struggled with that at Ole Miss. He would get a 2-possession lead and couldn't figure out how to, whether it be in the fourth quarter, slow the game down and not give like the offense or the other team's offensive ball right back and have your defense dying out there. Like, it's like when at Ole Miss, it seemed like when it was good, it was really good, and then when it was bad, you were scratching your head. And I mean, I always love Hugh Freeze. I don't want to speak badly on him, but this is his 3rd year at Auburn, and he hasn't had a winning season yet. And I cannot believe I'm saying that because I don't know. I look at Auburn as a team who should be at least winning 8 games. And his best season was his first season. They went 6-7. He's got a 14-17 record at Auburn. And honestly, if he don't rattle off some games here, I could see him being on the hot seat at the end of the year.
True. Didn't you mention something about his record against top 25 opponents last week? I could be true.
To me?
I thought you had touched on Hugh's record against AP top 25 opponents at his tenure in Auburn, but
that was Matt Rule. Matt Rule hasn't beaten a top 25 opponent since 2016.
Thank you.
And I do want to let it be known about Hugh Freeze real quick, Logan. In 2024, so last year's recruiting cycle, I guess 2 years ago technically, they had the 10th best recruiting class. And then this past year, they had the 8th. So it's not like he has no talent or he's not bringing a talent in there. Hugh Freeze is an excellent recruiter. if nothing else.
Yeah.
He's a
You're telling me?
yeah.
I seen this man in one class go get Laramie Tunzel, the number 1 left tackle, the number 1 overall recruit, Robert Kimdichie, the number 1 tight end, Evan Ingram, or maybe he was number 2. Evan Ingram was like a top tight end. And then he got the number 1 wide receiver, Laquan Treadwell, all in one recruiting class, the highest ranked recruiting class ever for Ole Miss. We were like,
And
oh,
did
You
it
know
all
what, you know
legally.
what, Logan, you know what that tells me, bro? I feel like that's such an important skill to have in this day and age of college football that it warrants him still being the head coach for a program. But Hugh has got to do a better job with delegating. And it's not even me saying that the coordinators he have aren't talented. I think Durkin is a hell of a fucking coordinator. I can't speak too much on the OC, but he's got to do a better job at delegating stuff to these guys if that's the case, because the way that this Auburn team performed that first half, I know we got to get on to it to the next segment, Joey. I'm not going to be that guy. I know. But the first half of this game, man, everything that Logan gives Hugh credit for, he kind of exemplified in that first half of that Auburn, Georgia game, bro. Like, they whooped our ass up and down that field. It wasn't just a one side of the field and the defense just got in by the skin of their teeth. They were busting our ass. And so you delegated good enough in the first half. What did you do in that damn locker room in the second half that alleviated your team from doing what they kept doing in the first half? But either way,
They pouted.
I
Hey,
know.
I'll
Truman.
say-
I
The
know.
halftime interview told me everything I need to know about how that game was going to go.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll say this, and this will lead us into our next segment here. Hugh Freeze in year 3 at Ole Miss beat Alabama. Year 3. This is year 3 Auburn, and they don't look like they've improved at all since year 1. Year 3. Year 1, we went 6-6. We had to beat Mississippi State to earn a bowl game, and we went 7-6 after winning that. But like year 1, we overperformed for sure. But seeing Hugh Freeze 2012 had 7 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins. His first 4 years at Ole Miss, he improved every year. And keep in mind, 2015, we also beat Alabama. I think 2015 is the year we stomped Georgia. And I'm not trying to throw shade at y'all, but those are back-to-back wins against Alabama. Against Alabama, you stomped Georgia. That's 3 huge wins in 2 seasons at Ole Miss.
But you know what, Logan? Let me ask you
Like-
this. And as somebody who has a more firsthand experience with everything, Ole Miss is the big brother in their state. Auburn is the little brother in their state.
Hey, you know what's crazy, though? Hugh Freeze, when he went to Auburn, literally belittled Ole Miss and said Auburn was the better program. I'm not saying they aren't. They got more natties than we do, especially in the last 20, 50, 80 years. But I'm just saying, like, this day and age, nothing against Auburn, but the last 5 to 10 years, that doesn't seem as true to me. I mean, maybe I'm biased, but with that being said, we can jump into Ole Miss real quick. I'll kick that off because obviously head scratcher of a game. Didn't look great, but also, yeah, 100% a trap game. You come off a huge LSU win. You get we got catapulted into the top 5. I did not expect us to go to 4 when we did. I mean, I was happy to see it, but I mean, we're still sitting at 5. We did fall back. A&M jumped us in the rankings. Deservingly so, I would say. A&M, I think, has looked like the better all-around team. I won't lie. Sitting at 6-0, I still don't know what Ole Miss is. Like, LSU felt great, but at the end of the day, LSU's offense is suspect. I said that during celebrating it, giving Hugh Freeze, giving Luke, Matt Luke. I'm going to name every coach before I get to Kiffin. All right.
Houston Nut.
Jesus. Hey, we did 2. Never mind. Don't get me started. When I gave Lane Kiffin his flowers, I was talking about, like, LSU's offense was suspect. Their defense has been winning them these football games. LSU's scoring 20 points a game, and their defense is holding teams to less. Like, they did it again this past week. But when you look at the box score, you would think we killed, and I mean killed, Washington State. You got a quarterback who throws 9 incompletions, throws for 250, throws 2 touchdowns, and then rushes for a touchdown. Kwan Lacey has 24 carries for 142 yards. Like, you got 3 receivers over 50-plus yards, 2 of them have touchdowns. Like when you first check the box score, your initial thought was like, oh, Ole Miss probably handled them. You know, maybe they made it close in the end, but that was not the case. Washington State was handling us, and we are in the end scraping it off. But I think my biggest takeaway from this, I 100% think it's a trap game. LSU, big win, bye week, and then you got Washington State, who you're a 38.5-point favorite, I think it was. And then obviously you got to go play Georgia, a top 10 matchup at Georgia. So at Georgia, because that's a real home field advantage, Joey. I'll leave it at that. But the most important thing to this is that we came away with a win. As we saw last year, I still do to this day believe last year was the best Ole Miss team I've ever seen in my life. Like top to bottom, offense, defense, front seven, like everywhere. Like our biggest hole was running back, and it sucked because Judkins transferred and then scores 3 touchdowns in the Natty, goes on and wins it, does his thing, like whatever. So it sucked to know the running back was our biggest hole. But last year we lost this game against Kentucky when we had a dogfight and we had a scrap and claw for every yard. Last year we lost this game against Florida when we had a dogfight and had a scrap and claw for every yard. LSU was a shootout. I won't really say it was I don't know. I don't really feel like it was a dogfight just because it's not like we were fighting super hard. It's just both teams were just scoring at will, and they got the ball last and they won, and that is what it is. But, I mean, it does suck to see, and it makes me nervous. Everything I felt like was going right obviously humbles you a little bit, and you're like, damn it, dog. It's still a little shaky. But the biggest takeaway for me is we're still sitting 6-0. We're still at the top of the SEC. We're in a position where we can lose to a Georgia or an Oklahoma and still be sitting in the playoffs. Honestly, there might be a world where we could lose to Georgia and Oklahoma and still be sitting in the playoffs if we win out. Like I think that could still be a world. And at the end of the day, all I can think about is last year when we lost this exact kind of scrappy game to Kentucky. And I'm just happy we pulled it off because I think good teams win these close games. I mean, we've seen every year Georgia, since Kirby Smart's got there, every year Georgia has that close game, whether it be a Mizzou, a Kentucky, a team that they should, put the gas on the pedal and just blow through, and they have a dogfight that they come away with. And I think that's because good teams win these kind of games. So that's what I keep having to tell myself after this rough week is good teams win these games. We won this game. Last year, we lose this game to Kentucky, to Florida. So that's kind of what I'm hanging my hat on going into this big matchup coming up. But, I mean, that's all I got really to say on the Ole Miss game. It is what it is. It's a tough one, It's nice to see Chandler still look decent in it, Nice to see he was able to march downfield and get the scores and stuff to give us the edge at the end. But, yeah, I mean, I think it was a trap game, and I'm just glad to see we came away with the dub, to be honest.
Well, like you said, it's kind of the setup was perfect for that. Like you said, the big win, the bye week, the team who is you should dominate before you play probably one of your, if not your biggest game of the season.
Dude, the spread was bigger than how many points we scored.
That's
How we
true.
gonna cover a spread if we can't even score that many points?
Yeah. So
we were 15 points shy of the spread. Just scoring that many points, much less covering.
Yeah, but that's the funny thing about this sport, man. This college football, especially, you will find a way to get humbled and kind of have a head check, like, hey, it's this is what it is. So, yeah, but I think you pretty much hit everything right on. Anything else you fellas want to add to the Ole Miss before? Or we're gonna talk a lot about them, or a little bit more about them when we talk about our predictions later. But I personally didn't watch a ton of it, so I don't want to make a super big analysis.
Graham, you got anything? If not, I'll fire off.
No, I had actually mentioned in the group chat that we got with the fellas, them boys was running double quarterback boot. Hey man, Brooks Austin, he's an avid user of the term, BK, he a ball knower. You got to be a real ball knower to understand the severity of the stress it puts onto your OC and your DC getting ready for a team like this, man. You in the middle of a SEC. I mean, you slam jam in the middle of a SEC schedule, and you got to play these wonky ass. You got to play these wonky ass double quarterback boot running motherfuckers from, Washington. Was it Washington State?
Yeah.
And rest in peace to Mike Leach too, man. Mr. Air Raid himself, the legend himself. But it's always hard to play against teams like this, man. You can never underestimate how difficult it is to plan for a team that runs this type of an offense and this just much of a wild card of a game plan. How much stress it puts on your coordinator. So I commend Ole Miss for getting over the hump, exactly like Logan said. Good teams win the easy, hard, ugly, and pretty games. They win them all. That's what good teams do. At least they aspire towards doing that. And so even if Ole Miss were to stumble into one or two losses, like Logan mentioned just a second ago, I think this ball team has a manner about playing that shows people they belong in the echelon of teams that people are finally starting to put them into. Shouts out to my brother, man. His team finally getting the the love and respect that they deserve this year, and I'm honestly happy for them. It has nothing to do with the matchup that we're going to talk about later on in the episode. I know Logan got to feel good for Ole Miss, getting the credit that they deserve for recruiting the way that they should have, hitting the portal the way that they should have, continue to trust Pete Golden the way. I know that people are going to bring up their defense and talk about, I think specifically y'all's rush defense is where y'all struggle at, right, Logan?
Yeah, this year for sure.
I know people hit on those things, but at the same time, y'all finally experienced what teams like, and not even trying to toot our horn, teams like Georgia experienced when we lose guys like we lost in that 21 and 22 draft class. It's hard to replicate that. It's hard to replicate that product of smash mouth football, shut down run defense, close out pass defense. Like, that's extremely hard to replicate, and especially in the NIL era where it's kind of like open season. So I commend y'all boys for getting over the hump in a true trap game. I called it myself in the chat, and I'm glad that we acknowledging it here on the show, because it was a damn ugly game to play, but an ugly win to take home, and that's all that matters, Logan. I'm happy for y'all boys. But I do hope we bust that ass and it's all belt this weekend. That one got nothing to do with that.
We'll get to that. All right, calm down. Hey, calm down.
This week, man. I'm glad y'all got it done, bro.
Hey, before you jump on real quick, Trip, I failed to mention Hugh Freeze win number, or Jesus Christ, y'all got me on a rant, bro. Lane Kiffin, win number 50 this week. Fastest Ole Miss coach ever to get win number 50. Only the third ever to get 50 wins at Ole Miss. And he's the fastest ever to do it. Yeah. There's only been 3 50-win coaches at Ole Miss, and he's one of them now. So shout out to Kiffin, man. I said it before. I've rambled before, especially after the LSU game. I mean, the turnaround at this program since Kiffin has been there is remarkable. I mean, a 10-win season seems feasible and seems like we should get it almost every year at this point. And it's never thought I'd be able to say that, but so it's a wonderful thing to see Ole Miss be able to go get a guy like Kiffin and be able to keep up with the times, because as we know, some of these programs, Clemson, are getting lost because they can't keep up with the time. So shout out to Kiffin. Flowers back his way. So you can go ahead, Trip. My fault.
No, you're good. This is really going to be short and sweet. And honestly, I think it's going to be a perfect transition into the next topic, just like you did for the last one. But I think most importantly, the things that define the differences between a good and a great team is, like Graham and you both said, is just winning the games no matter what, right? So, and the people who say like, oh, I can't believe Ole Miss won a close one against Washington State of all people. They're 3-3 now. Like, those are the same people that say, okay, well, Auburn beat this team, so that means, and that team beat that team, so therefore they should be ranked higher. Like, don't get me started on that shit. Every team has a game like this at least once a year, if not more.
It's probably like those Auburn fans were talking that year they lost to New Mexico State. Trip. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you.
No, you're good. I mean, every team has this happen usually once a year against a team that they should clearly beat. We went to 9 overtimes with Georgia Tech last year. Huh? If you would have told me that at the beginning of the season, I told you you're crazy. Right? Things like this happen. We also did. Go ahead, Graham.
That team is like the freaking 10th best team in the nation now, though. I don't give a damn what anybody says. That team was good as hell then, just like they good as hell now. But go ahead. My bad.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, in retrospect, we should have on paper beat that team by 2 touchdowns or more. Like that's not always the case. These are Vegas odds. These are spreads based on data. Like that's not always the case. So I don't look down at Ole Miss in any form or fashion because of this game. These kind of things happen. Was it ugly? God, yes. But a dub's a dub at the end of the day. Now to move this into the next topic, when it comes to winning the games you're supposed to win and losing the games you're not supposed to.
Bum, 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 bum.
The guy's ass I've been on all season, Mr. James Franklin. See you later, pal. And guess what? I hope you like Gainesville, Florida, because that's probably where you're headed next. Florida Gators, welcome your new head coach, James Franklin. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's actually, I know people. Go ahead, Strip. Go ahead, finish.
I've got a rant for this because you guys know I've been on.
We
James
throwing
Franklin.
something on that fucking grill if they make that higher, bro. I'm gonna tell you that right now. If y'all make that higher,
I think that's actually a great hire for Florida.
Man, if y'all make that
I was about to say
higher,
that,
I'm throwing
Trip.
something on that grill, bro.
Hey, if
I
I'm
didn't mean
Florida
that.
and I get Franklin, I'm thrilled.
I was about to say, if I'm as a Florida fan, I'm not as a Florida fan. If I am a Florida fan, and you know, we talked about Billy 2-3 weeks ago and how Joey mentioned they got to have a home run pick for their next head coach. That's about as home run as it gets for what the market's going to look like.
No, come on, fellas.
Well, that's as of right now. We don't. Mike Norvell might not have a job at the end of the
saying
season.
Home run for us, like the ops, because we top ops to them. Yeah, it's a home run for us if they hire Franklin, Florida.
Nah, I don't know about that.
Hey, sometimes a change of scenery is all you need, Graham.
All right, I'm gonna get us
Logan,
back
you
on
right,
track.
and I'm not. Y'all right, but man, I don't know.
Well, go ahead, Trip. Go ahead, get your point, Trip.
All right, so I know that we had talked about this before. You know, it's never feels right seeing a coach get let go in the middle of a season. I feel like this one was right. And I've seen a lot of Penn State fans crying about this on Twitter, not just them, but other people too. They're trying to take up for James and like, yeah, but they went to overtime with this Oregon game and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And look how he responded. That's the biggest thing. You are a 20-point favorite, at least 20-point favorite going into the next 2 games against unranked opponents and lost to the statistically worst team in the entire nation, not just an unranked team, statistically the worst team in the nation in UCLA with a brand new offensive coordinator that was just figuring that shit out 3 days before they kicked off. So on top of that, they're the first team ever in FBS history to lose back-to-back games as 20-plus point favorites. I'm going to start with that. I do feel bad for these players, though. I do want to point that out. There's a lot of guys on this Penn State team that could have easily went to the draft. Not saying they would have been high draft picks by any means, but they could have went on with their career. They could have transferred out, and they stuck by because they wanted to run it back. Drew Aller being one of them, and I know Graham's going to get into Drew Aller when it's his turn. But at the end of the day, like this is James Franklin, whether you want to believe it or not, is probably 80 to 90% of the reason why these kids came back. And now we're halfway through the season, and they don't know who their head coach is anymore. So in that aspect, I do feel bad for these Penn State players. But other than that, I know there's a lot of chatter of who the next head coach is going to be. I'm seeing people throw around Matt Rule and saying he's going to bring Dylan Raiola with them for next year. I think that would be crazy. I don't know that Matt Rule is your guy, like we and Graham just were talking about a couple minutes ago. Matt Rule hasn't beat a ranked, not a top 10, a ranked opponent since 2016, since he was at Baylor or where he's at now. But I thought one of the most interesting things about this whole buyout situation is this something that I learned this morning. So obviously it was $40+ million buyout. People are like, that's crazy that they're paying that amount of money to see him gone, right? Apparently, in his contract, James Franklin is required to look for another job in either coaching or broadcasting, according to a copy of his contract. If Franklin's new job pays him less than $8 million a year that he is owed from Penn State through 2031, then Penn State only owes him the difference. So if he goes and gets a coaching job for $5 million a year, Penn State only owes him $3 million a year. They don't have to pay him that whole $40 million, and it's required that he goes and actively searches for a job. They got this motherfucker on an unemployment style contract where he has to be actively interviewing for jobs, which I thought is kind of crazy, but that makes the contract make a little more sense in my opinion than the buyout.
I'll go work with Dollar Tree tomorrow.
Somebody said he needs to just take a low-end contract at a small school and just get paid.
I'll
that
start
difference
working at Dollar Tree tomorrow. They want,
but
y'all want to play?
I do think, and I saw some talks about people saying like, "Oh, we're going to see more head coaches fired that are kind of on the fence so that they can go after someone like a James Franklin." I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but if I'm Florida and you're already teeter-tottering about, if you're going to get rid of Billy and James is one of those people you're thinking about targeting, you might want to start making your mind up because there's going to be a lot of people calling James Franklin's phone. And I think that is about as good of a pick as you can get from this, open coaches that are going to be out there. But Graham, I do want to commend you on something. You've thrown around Fran Brown's name multiple times when it comes to coaches getting shifted in other places. I learned this morning the AD of Penn State was also the AD at Temple when Fran Brown was on that coaching staff. So they have a relationship. And Fran Brown's name is already getting tossed around. I'm not saying that's their guy.
Fran Brown is from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Put ink to paper. That's what I just heard. Put the ink to the paper.
I would be very curious to see, which I think Matt Rule was also a part of a coaching.
Matt Rule is actually Penn State alumni, played at Penn State.
Right.
I think his pops went to Penn State. There's like one or two conventional moves for this, job opening that would make the most sense on paper. I think in a vacuum, if you're Penn State and you can get a 2-for-1 with Matt Rule and Raiola, listen, we can all be naive in life, right? It's the same as going to DMV and telling them you 6'2" and you 5'11". You can do that. Nobody gonna stop you. Nobody gonna tell Penn State that you can't be a fucking dynasty. But what's the reality? You down the street from Ohio State and you up the street from Michigan. And I know that's not literally true, but don't be a smart ass. You get what I'm saying? Don't be a wise guy. Just hear me out for what I'm saying. Penn State is not ever really, no matter how many times they reshuffle that deck, the amount of times that you are, traditionally speaking, going to be able to get above Michigan and Ohio State is slim to none. I think you're better off hiring a guy who more times than not is going to punch above his weight. Now, does that mean win a natty? No. But does that mean we give this guy an 8-4 roster and he go 10-2? Yes. That's what I think y'all need. Because James Franklin you give him 8-4, he give you 9-3 or 8-4. But with Fran, you give him 8 years, I think at least 3 of them years, he's going to get you on more of a deeper run with the echelon of recruit that he can bring in, convinced that, listen, you could have went and been a wide receiver too at Ohio State or at this program or wherever. But I want you here being my guy who's going to transcend this program to this height. Of course, you're not going to hit that height every time. But I think a guy like Fran Brown or even a guy like Dillingham, I know I always bring him up. And I know both of y'all will have y'all, Joey and Logan, I know y'all have y'all, 2 cents regarding who is the best fit for that opening. But if I could just, instead of giving a name, that's the formula I think that they should stick to. I think they should lean more towards the upside higher, in my personal opinion. I don't think Matt Rule gives you the same upside that a guy like Fran Brown does, because I think Fran Brown has already done damn near the same for what it's worth at Syracuse already that Matt Rule done in Nebraska. Matt Rule ain't made no damn playoffs over there, man. You beat him or who, whatever, man. Nebraska's still not nowhere near what the fans is saying that they are going to be like how they were back in the 80s and whatnot. So I think Fran Brown or an upside higher is the way to go, man.
Well, I want to point out one thing. Not that this person would pull Fran Brown in, but AJ Harris was recruited by Fran Brown. That's one of his few guys that he was responsible for recruiting. So I think you could see him be coached by Fran Brown, whether it's with Syracuse or another school next year, regardless. Just something for Penn State, simple to think about. But my thing is, first off, I think there was a rule that Adidas had something to do with it, and that was quickly refuted. So have you seen that? I guess that has no validity. But
I fell for that.
I mean, it was a legitimate source, though. It was just somebody came and said, no, this isn't true. So it wasn't like you got entailed or anything. But I think you got to be careful when you're, because let me get this pulled up. Type this in. You got to be careful when you're Penn State, because what do you realistically think your ceiling is? What do you realistically think your expectations are? Okay, because Because James Franklin got there in 2016. Was that? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So 2016, they go 11-3. Let me read you out 2010, 7-6. 2011, 9-4. 2012, 8-4. 2013, 7-5. 2014, 7-6. 2015, 7-6. He gets there, 11-3, 11-2, 9-4. That COVID year was bad. But I'm looking at a guy who has given you as many double-digit win seasons in his tenure than you have had since 2000.
Hey man, that's
So,
back when the Big Ten had that weak ass. It was like Ohio State and Michigan was on the good side, and he was on that bullshit side. But I don't want to be that guy.
but regardless, they were there when Bill O'Brien took over. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, and of course they were riding off the Joe Paterno wave forever because I mean he was there for 40 years, however long. But I mean Joe
No,
Pa's not there anymore. You know what I mean?
You make
Like,
a good point though. I mean, to get 11 wins in a conference like the Big Ten is nothing to sneeze at, bro. I mean, you make some good points.
yeah.
Sure.
And how many people are going to keep that going that you're going to bring in now? Because it's like I'm not going to make this a literal comparison, but it's almost like the baseball media loves saying, let's trade Ronald Acuna and get some top prospects. No, I want a proven guy. I don't know if I want a Matt Rule. I don't know if I want, I mean, I guess Matt Rule's somewhat proven, not at the level of James Franklin, but I don't know if Fran Brown is that proven. I don't know if Kenny
I don't think they're more proven than James is though. Logan, you feel like Florida is really like looking at James like a 1A? Truly? I'm not even trying to be, funny.
I'll be honest. This whole Penn State situation reminds me, and this is going to tie into Florida. This whole Penn State situation reminds me of Dan Mullen at Mississippi State. Joey just said, what's your peak? They've reached it. This is their peak, Joey. 10 wins is their peak.
I agree.
But he's been there so long that he has drilled in their head that they should be a championship caliber team. And guess what? Dan Mullen was at Mississippi State so long that he had put it in their head that we're better than 9 wins. And I mean, granted, he did leave on his own. They didn't fire him. I get that. But it reminds me, Dan Mullen, Mississippi State, 8-9 wins a year, occasionally a 10-win season at Mississippi State. That's the peak. And then Penn State winning 10 games damn near every year. That is the peak. Guess what? Dan Mullen goes to Florida. I think James Franklin might be going to Florida. And as far as the Penn State coaching job, I'm glad you pointed that out, Tripp, because you made my brain start rolling. That's why you probably see me looking down. You're saying that Fran Brown has ties with Penn State's AD, Kraft, because Kraft was at Temple. Guess who else was at Temple? Matt Rule. Matt Rule was at Temple. Let's not forget that. And Graham pointing out Matt Rule's got all these ties to Penn State. A lot of things point to Matt Rule once I start getting my brain going and like hearing you guys talk. So I think it looks like it might come down to like a Matt Rule or a Fran Brown, but I'm not going to be surprised if Penn State does the same thing Mississippi State does and falls off and they go to a 7-win team.
Tripp, I feel like the 2-for-1 is kind of a gimme, no? I mean, if you get Rule, you're getting Raiola, bro. I mean, you know that. It solves the quarterback and the coaching problem, at least for a 2-year, time span, right?
I mean, my biggest question mark is, does Matt Rule even want this job? This is going to be a high.
Did you see him salivating at that interview earlier today? I don't think you've seen it. Maybe you didn't.
No, I did. No, I did. And I think it's crazy to say that there's not a coach.
Bro, you're still the head coach of Nebraska. Why did you go on a 10 fucking minute excerpt about the history of Penn State? I said, yo, just go ahead and quit now, bro. Like, damn.
No, I mean, I think that this is obviously going to be the most attractive job to just about any coach that's looking to make that jump. But I compare this job almost even more than Kalen DeBoer having to fill Nick Saban's shoes kind of pressure. Like, you're going into a position where this program is saying, just like Logan was just saying, 10 wins ain't going to cut it. These guys just went to the playoffs last year. And you go on and have one down season, they say, see ya. Now, granted.
One game away from the Natty.
Yes, correct. On top of that, I will say, like, if you pull up all the stats I've thrown for the last 3 weeks on James Franklin since I've been on his ass, he can't get over that hump. And I think that's more what Penn State lies on. It's like, yes, you're winning 10 games a season. but you cannot beat the monster that's in front of you when it's created. You've won the games that you're supposed to win for all these years and then falling short to the big guys every once in a while. But now you can't even win the games you're supposed to win, much less back-to-back games you're supposed to win against. So that's where I think where Penn State was just kind of had their hands tied. They're like, well, shit, you can't do nothing for us at this point. Like, what are we supposed to do? So I think there's going to be a lot of coaches that are going to be in this conversation. I see a lot of talks about Vandy's head coach, Missouri's head coach. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be trying to get after this job. Now, who Penn State goes for?
If I'm Clark Lee, I'm taking that flight to Happy Valley tonight.
You think they're taking another Vanderbilt to Penn State route?
I'm not going to say that. All I'm saying is if I'm Clark Lee and I get that call, what I'll say is this. We keep there's a recurring theme in this episode, if y'all ain't noticed, and I hope Joey, throws me a oop and puts this in some way into the title this week because he's always great at that. My boy is good for a good title, but we keep talking about the big brother, little brother stuff, Logan. Same when we talked about, Ole Miss will never be little bro to Mississippi State. So you can sit here and say maybe Auburn is a better job than Ole Miss, but Ole Miss will never be little brother to Mississippi State, bro. You don't ever have to deal with that problem when you the head honcho at Ole Miss. And so what I'll say is this. Penn State will never be the little bro to nobody in the state of Pennsylvania. Ever. And that's still a hell of a football state. Yeah, it's not Florida. It's not Georgia. It's not Texas. It's not Bama. It's not Louisiana. We nitpicking now at this point. Pennsylvania is 100% a top 10 football state. You got a good enough of a recruiting base over there in the Big Ten, a big enough of a brand. All I gotta say is this, and I know we gotta move past this, y'all. Can we be mad at Penn State fans for saying we were a dynasty at once? We hired somebody from Vanderbilt, which is literally the chopped liver at a fucking SEC, and turned him into an 11-win fucking coach in Big Ten. He knocked on the doorstep of greatness damn near every season here at Penn State. Why can't we take one more big strike and try and get somebody who can get us over the hump? Now, if we're going to sit here and objectively say that the peak for Penn State is something that they've already reached, I'm fine with that because y'all are all intelligent and I think y'all are all smarter than me. So I will never be mad at that. But can we be mad at the Penn State fan for saying, Logan even just said it just a minute ago, they was one fucking game away from being in the big dance. Can we be mad at those fans for saying, me personally, that's the reason why I'm flinging my fucking laptop through the window if Penn State if we hire Matt Rule. It was another name y'all mentioned earlier. There's no way, man. No.
How I look at it is, okay, you bring up, I think if you're a Penn State fan, however you support them, you've got to be realistic with yourself. The reason that you want this 10 or 11 is the guy who's here. Mark Richt was the same way, but you had Kirby Smart that you were about to hire. Do you think to me, if you do that, you have your guy right now. That's what I think. I think they have their guy right now. It's just a matter of
who do you think it is, Joe?
I don't know who it is. I'm just saying I think if you make that move, you know who your guy is.
You said you could tell us who it's not, Trip?
It ain't Kurt Signetti. I can promise you that. He is not leaving Indiana, bro.
Yeah, I 100% agree. We're talking about
everybody who thinks he is, you're crazy.
Hey, what's Shorty said?
You talk about
money
fans,
talks.
Wait a minute, Graham. You talk about fans saying that you were a dynasty at one point. You were a dynasty when Reagan was in office. Like, you got to be realistic. You went through a 20-year span where the guy who is there, who you just canned, has more 10-win seasons than you did the entire rest of the decade. So you kicked out the reason you had that. So when you move on somebody like that, you better make sure you have your guy, and you better make sure it's the right guy. I think this is one of the. I think. Hold on, Graham.
Go ahead.
I think this is one of the. I think this could potentially be the biggest mistake you make in a long time, depending on the next few years. 100%. I know it looks good right now, just like when Dan Mullen got fired, they were like 5-7, so it seemed good. When you put it in perspective of how you had it versus where it is now, you may not like what you get on the other side. That's my 2 cents on it.
Hey, I got one question.
We got to push. I know we got to push.
I got one question, and I don't want no deep. I just want one or the other. I don't want no deep explanation, none of that. As all of us who are college football fans, if you got the Florida job offer on the table or Penn State, who do y'all take? I'm taking Florida. I'll open up. Rip. Y'all both
I
said
would
Florida?
say that's tough. That's so tough.
Come on, Strip. You know that.
Probably Florida just because it's less pressure coming straight into it. But Penn State is probably going to be the most attractive job open this year, and I'm not even playing.
We'll see.
Could be. But speaking of another job that you just said is not going anywhere, it would be one Kurt Signetti, who just had it easily the biggest win of his career.
The Sig 10?
Say what? Sig 10? That's
Sig 10?
awesome. Yeah,
that.
Kurt and the boys, led by Mr. Mendoza, had a big upset win over which I know we talked about teams being that close, not being upset. But I think we all knew how good we thought Oregon still is, but how much of a gap we thought there was. And hey, Google him. He wins everywhere he goes.
He does.
And, yeah, he called a shot. Huge win. Again, easily the biggest win probably of his entire coaching career, but inarguably his tenure at Indiana. Wideout Elijah Surratt to me was the start of the day. I hope I pronounced his name right. Going for 8 and 121 in a tud. I was really impressed by the way he's got these guys playing so physical, given the resources, which you would think. And we're not going to jump back into the Penn State thing, but it makes you wonder if you give him the resources of like an elite program or a blue blood, fringe blue blood, if you will, what he could do. But seems like he's really content where he's at, what he's got, and he's doing a lot of what he's got. So, yeah, I think the way they don't have to play Ohio State, so they very well could coast to the Big Ten championship. Which it's funny. I just want to say this real quick. It's so funny how Ohio State's probably been the most dominant team in the country this year, and we haven't said much about them because they just have destroyed everybody. So there's really nothing to say. Hopefully that changes soon. Not because I'm wishing down on them, but just I'd like to talk about them a little bit more. But yeah, shout out to the Hoosiers, man. I really think that you're going to see them playing for a Big Ten championship.
I think Indiana won this game. They had 6 sacks and 8 tackles for loss. Dante Moore was never comfortable back there. I was very impressed with how they were getting to the quarterback, especially Dante Moore being a quarterback who, he's going to scramble, use his legs. I felt like there was a lot of times where I'm looking up and this man's laying on his back, So I was really impressed with the Indiana defense making a push and kind of holding Oregon to like that because, 6 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, that's impressive if you ask me. Also picked them off twice. So, seeing Indiana go into Eugene and win this game that's big time, dude. Like, Kurt Signetti just went out there and laid his balls on the table and didn't look back. And I can respect the guy who does. He's still on business, dude. He said what he's going to do, came in there. What Kurt Cousins said, come your trap, take over your trap. Kurt Signetti really did it. And one thing I love about Signetti, too, is like, you talk about him saying stuff like Joey, like standing on business, talk about Google me, stuff like that, I win everywhere I'm at. Dude, I love that. Like, I really did. What is he, 67? Like, that man's old. He is not young. And that's what, like, guys like that, like, people give Kiffin credit for being able to, like, relate to these 18-year-old kids. This man's 67 and relating to these 18-year-old kids. So, like, I love to see somebody who's should be retiring, but they're still connecting with these kids and getting them fired up like that, especially for a big game. We do talk about not calling it an upset when it's a top 10 matchup, but like, let's be honest, who really had Indiana winning this one? Like,
not many people.
I don't want to use the word upset, but it's like they were not favored, that's for sure. So, shout out to Signetti, shout out to Indiana. He got Mendoza to transfer over there, I'm not saying Cal's a better option, but you go get a good quarterback in the portal is pretty important for a guy taking over Indiana, and this is only his second year there. And what is he, 18-1, 18-2 there? It's got to be something crazy like that. He's got to have 17, 18 wins with like 1 or 2 losses. Like, it's been impressive what he's done. They destroyed Illinois, right?
Oh God, yeah, they boat raced them.
I was making sure I had the right team. So they
Yeah.
destroyed Illinois, come in here, take care of business with Oregon. I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks like. I don't have it in front of me, but if they don't have Ohio State, then Ohio State versus Indiana.
I'll show you.
Championship.
They the rest of their schedule is they got Michigan State this weekend, UCLA, Penn State, Wisconsin, Purdue. That is a cakewalk.
Yeah, they give him belt. They give him belt for the rest. Trip. I called your name because I'm dying for you to peel off some stats about how much belt Indiana received when they made the playoffs last year. It's not me hating on Kurt. Indiana team of the week. I shouted out earlier, kind of, preemptively. I didn't mean to cut off Joey, but I said, I'm like, yo, Joe, they team of the week. They for sure, 100%. They were the cream of the crop of college football this week. Let's give it up to them. Let's give it up for every Indiana fan. I can only imagine the fucking years y'all sat through up there in that Big Ten. We was just sitting here talking about James Franklin and Penn State and all the things that they fans endured. We can only imagine what an Indiana fan was enduring, through both Obama administrations and, I'm sure well before that as well. They're a basketball school. You know what I'm saying? Needless to say, Indiana is a basketball school. It's good to see that they're finally, investing into the other big sport, which is football, and they are the team of the week. But it will be interesting to see how Indiana performs in the playoffs this year, because I think we'd be naive to assume that they're not making it to the P at this point.
They're a lock at this point.
100%. Unless God forbid, and I mean this honestly, Mendoza injury, even if one of them lockdown corners, because they've got 2 lockdown corners, if I'm correct. I know both my brothers, Logan and Tripp, either one of them will probably be able to maybe attest it to that point. But, I know their defense, it may not be like star-studded, but I think their corners are pretty good. And I think that's something that allows the defensive linemen that they do have, to get home when they are able to get home, because those guys are locking shit up back there. So, they're a threat moving forward, but it will be interesting to see how they look in the playoffs, because I still do believe that you need multiple years of stacking on recruits at the level that I think Kurt was finally able to pull in last offseason. I think he's going to need at least 2 or 3 more off seasons of recruits to that echelon to be able to go into the playoffs and make a push. But shouts out to them, man. Flowers to Indiana. Y'all did y'all thing this weekend, man. Y'all was team of the week for sure, 100%.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this one pretty short and sweet for the sake of time, but yeah, massive win. And honestly, like Logan, I know you pointed out, like it's hard to call this an upset when you have such 2 highly rated opponents going against each other. This didn't even look like an upset to me. This looked like Indiana belonged in that moment the whole game. And this final score doesn't really tell the whole story. Oregon had a pick 6, I think, with like 8 minutes to go to tie it up. And then Indiana drove it down the field to take the lead again and seal it out. Indiana dominated this game in every form and fashion. Dante Moore, he didn't look horrible, but I think this was that one game we've been waiting to see out of a young freshman quarterback like this. Kind of like we talked about Bryce Underwood earlier in the season when we were talking about him, but he still hadn't really gotten past his jitters yet, I don't think. But nonetheless, I did come with some stats, Graham, not necessarily geared towards the playoffs last year, but this is Curt Cignetti's second top 10 win this season, which is more than James Franklin had in 9 seasons at Penn State. Just going to throw that out there. I know we're done talking about James Franklin, but just had to throw that out there. And a reason why I don't think that, not to go back to Penn State at all, but this was part of this segment for me as well, is the reason why I don't see him going to somewhere like Penn State. I do think it's an attractive job for him because of the resources, like Graham had pointed out. He's doing all this with transfer kids, bro. Like, you don't think this is already going to bring him some recruits, especially now that he's floating in the top 3 and has this cakewalk of a schedule we just talked about? Like, and they're doing it in back-to-back years, proving going to the playoffs. Like, now that they're showing they can compete consistently, they're going to get their recruits all by themselves without him having to go somewhere like Penn State.
That's got to be why Penn State goes all out for him, though, right? Though, Tripp. I mean, he's their home run guy, right?
Yeah, and I think that's probably your 1A guy. if you are trying to go for somebody, to me, just don't see a reason for Kurt to leave. He has less pressure at a place like Indiana, in my opinion. He's doing this with transfer classes. He's going to get that talent in the door. And I don't think any Big Ten coach wants anything more than to stomp on Penn State. So why would he not just stay where he's at and continue that motion moving forward? A couple of things I want to point out. Kurt Cignetti is
before you go, I want to say I'm pretty sure Dante Moore is a redshirt sophomore.
Okay, well, his first season though, like as a starter, is
Gotcha.
what I meant. Like, yeah, you're right though.
Did he have a bad injury, y'all? He had a crazy
I just don't think he played a lot.
He sat behind Gabriel. There was like two quarterbacks at UCLA that year. Then he sat behind Gabriel when he transferred.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Kurt Cignetti is now 17-0 when tied or with the lead at halftime. So you want to talk about a guy that, you know, we're giving Hugh Freeze shit for not being able to hold a lead, or all these other coaches that seem to fumble or throw everything away at halftime. Kurt Cignetti is going to play for 4 quarters. And I really am impressed with what he's done with this program. If you'd have told me before the beginning of last season, hey, you know, Indiana's going to be a playoff team this year, I would have told you to go see your doctor immediately. But now it's looking like they're going to stick around for a while. I think the biggest thing to point out, though, and I know you guys were just talking about Indiana's schedule, but I kind of want to tie this into some other teams as well. I saw this earlier. So for the rest of this season, the top 3 teams now, which are Ohio State, Miami, and Indiana, have 0 games remaining against top 25 opponents. The top 11 SEC schools have 18 top 25 games left. Texas A&M has 3, which are all on the road. Ole Miss has 2, Alabama has 3, Georgia has 3, LSU has 4, Tennessee has 3. So Ohio State, Miami, and Indiana can pretty much just go ahead and cash their ticket to the playoff, in my opinion. But this is where things get tricky, because if a team like this gets upset by someone that they're not supposed to lose to, and you got to compare that to a 1-loss SEC school, it's going to be a lot of hard conversations to be had. But again, want to give Indiana their flowers. I'm a huge Cignetti guy. I want nothing but the best for him. But like Graham said, I'm going to be very curious to see what happens come playoff time.
Kurt Cignetti, just looked it up, 17-2 at Indiana. I knew it was something like 17, 18 wins, 1 or 2 losses. So 17-2.
Yeah, it was that Ohio State and in the playoff game last year.
Yep.
So
Logan, don't that feel like though that that's the perfect resume to like take somewhere else? I hate to be that guy.
We can't keep going. We can't keep going back to that. We'll have to see how this progresses. Everybody, like the sources that are close, that there's no shot he leaves there for Penn State at least. Do want to talk about a couple more big games that we saw. First, one of them being Alabama, Missouri.
Hey, let's do that 1 second. I will segue Alabama into our pick'ems. Let's hit Texas, Oklahoma first.
Well, I was gonna. Okay, all right, that's fine. All right. Well, Texas and Oklahoma. John Mateer came back. Looked like he may have come back a little too soon. It's funny. One of my buddies was talking about he took the Arch Manning over on yards, which is something I would never touch. And he's like, "Oh wow, you see they have the 23-6 win. You assume Arch Manning has the game, dominates, and it's what they did on the ground. Their physicality, just the attack up front and win, really overwhelm an Oklahoma offense who just got who was at the time the Heisman front runner back. Looked like he was just a step behind on everything. Like he's still trying to get that rhythm back because he didn't practice a lot. I mean, from what I understand, and he was recovering that injury. So it looked like he's definitely trying to get hold. And honestly, for him playing South Carolina this weekend, that's a tough defense to get back to basics on. Which I will be there for that game this weekend. But Texas showed, that they still got the guys to beat anybody in the country. They're one of those people where, do I think it was very justified for them to drop out of the top 25? No question. If you're any team in America, maybe besides Ohio State, do you want to line up and play them? Probably not. And I think they still show they have that. Arch, I meant to pull it up, but I couldn't find it. Arch made some throws, especially just one, like a little out route on the sideline. It was one of the best throws I've seen from anybody this entire year. So he's still showing those flashes of I can be Heisman frontrunner that everybody was talking about, but then still seeing like the inconsistencies are so overbearing with him. But nonetheless, I mean, I don't think Oklahoma scored a touchdown against them in 3 years. And obviously Texas has won all 3 of those years. So Texas still kind of owning the Red River rivalry, which is something I still really enjoy watching. I'm glad that ESPN does a good job with promoting that. But yeah, so shout out to Texas, Oklahoma on to South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I think they said something about like there was 17 days between John Mateer's surgery and him coming back.
Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah, and I know that we had all talked about this a couple weeks ago, talking about Mateer and his return and when he should come back. And I think that this goes to show that it was a little too early. He looked completely different. He didn't play, I don't want to say god awful. I mean, he did throw 3 picks.
It was pretty bad.
But I also think a lot of that credit has to go to Texas's defense. We've been saying since the beginning of the year, Texas has a top 5 defense in the country. Haven't really played up to that standard, but that's the best I've seen Texas's defense play. I think even including a little bit of last year. All around, it was just pure domination by Texas. They looked like they were ready to win this game, and I think that they know that their season was pretty much, I don't want to say on the line, but pretty much going into this game, and they took full advantage of Mateer coming back early.
You're right, true. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, it really just – I thought this game was still going to be much better, even though Mateer was coming back early. I thought, they'd still put up a fight. I mean, Oklahoma still only allowed, 26 points or 23 points or whatever to Texas, which is still an impressive outing by that defense. They just couldn't get anything going offensively and playing from behind, the sticks half the games. So other than that, I mean, I'd like to see Mateer get healthy and perform well again. He was fun to watch when he was healthy. I'm seeing a lot of chatter, especially now, that we're probably going to see Mateer come back for another year next year. But I don't know how true that is. I think depending on how much he continues to play out after this surgery and continues to kill his draft stock, he might not have a choice but to come back. But that's all I got for this.
Right. That's a good point. Logan, I'm gonna let you talk, but I do have one question for you before you go into your points. And it's before you get finished, let me know if you feel like both teams are still gonna make the playoffs. I know Texas is on the outside looking in, but Texas still only have 2 losses, right, yo?
Yeah.
And theoretically, if you win your conference, not likely, but
I think 2 is that magic number for everybody, right? Like if you can make it out of the regular season with 2, with 1 or 2 decent wins, but I don't want to bite into Logan's time. I do want to leave you with that question, Logan, before you get done with your bit. Let me know if you feel like both teams can make the playoffs.
I mean, theoretically, yes. There's no shot Texas makes playoffs. I would be fucking shocked, like so shocked. There's only so many SEC teams that can get in, and you got A&M, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama. All those teams are in front of them right now. All those Missouri, all those teams have to collapse.
Tennessee,
2 or 3 of those teams that are going to get in, maybe 4 on a crazy scenario, but 3 max, I'm thinking.
Is Georgia Texas's last hard game, though, yo?
We have to look at it down the road, but go ahead, Logan.
But one thing I wanted to touch on, I could not find the post. That's what I've been sitting here scrolling. I wasn't ignoring Trip going or anything. I've been sitting here scrolling because I had seen a stat. I can't find it right now, but it was something. So I found Texas. Texas is 9-2 in the SEC since joining. I think Oklahoma was like 3-7. I can't find the exact number, but it's kind of crazy the difference of the SEC record since joining over. Texas, though, I mean, yeah, like you're saying, I think Joey touched on it. Arch Manning doesn't jump off the page, had some good throws, but he's only threw 6 incompletions. It's a rivalry game, so 6 incompletions, not bad at all. He only throws for 166, but I mean, you got Buddy over here running for 94 yards. So it's like the way their running team is, their defense is controlling the ball, you're controlling the clock. I mean, I think Arch Manning did what he had to do. And at the end of the day, as a Texas fan, with the way this season started, with the way Arch has looked, you can't ask for anything better, in my opinion, especially a big rivalry game. It's easy for – how many times have we seen Arch where he looks out of place? He looks rattled, and this is a big, big game. Red River Red River rivalry is a big matchup every year. No matter if they were SEC before SEC, it's always been a big deal. So him coming in here not looking rattled and being able to take it. I mean, he managed the game. He didn't necessarily take it over. But I mean, as a Texas fan, what more can you ask for? And then as far as the Oklahoma side of things, I mean, y'all are hitting it right on the head. Mateer just looks like he came back too early. And maybe, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see South Carolina this weekend. We'll see how he does. I just hope he's still looking rusty come next weekend when we play them boys. That's all I'll say.
Texas has to play Vandy, Georgia, and A&M, by the way.
Yeah, they ain't in. Yeah.
Yeah. So
like a fat kid dodgeball, them boys is out. I'm just saying.
Hey, I was actually pretty good at dodgeball. I'll have you know that. Thank you.
I said fat kid.
I was pretty. I mean, I was a nose guard.
I was really
nose guard. I was like a 200-pound 205 nose guard.
Hey, you was a one tech, Joey?
Yeah, I was one tech.
Shout out to all my one
techs
out here. One techs need love too, baby.
I was shading the center on that.
Come on, now.
But so another game, Alabama and Missouri. To me, I think Alabama showed that they're the number one offensive force in football. I don't know if stats prove it, but watching, I haven't watched an offense that good. They're really starting to run the ball well again, too. Ty Simpson just refuses to make a wrong decision. Missouri, they're so good on the ground, really good defensively. Damian Wilson has been a godsend for them. He had 2 sacks against Bama. For those who don't know, transferred there from Georgia. Missouri's really just they got exposed as in they cannot stretch the field vertically. They don't really have the weapons to do that. Perbula made a lot of really questionable throws, stuff that he was seeing like it was almost like in Madden when you throw an interception that you know is your fault, but it's because you saw somebody with a window this open. It looked like the timing was just off with the receivers, but Bama, to me, they're the scariest team in the country. I think if the playoffs were to start tomorrow and they're in it, they would be my pick to win it. As much as that pains me to say, but and with Florida State just suffering their 3rd loss, plummeting unranked, it just shows how much of a bizarre anomaly that game was against Florida State at the beginning of the year. But we said last week, I feel like we did, that Bama's back, and I'm still heavy on that. These boys look like they can beat anybody in America, and I think they really could.
I think Miami will bust Alabama ass if they met tomorrow. Personally,
I don't know about that. I mean, it's certainly a discussion, but Bama given the competition they've played, how they've played, just how seamlessly like watching their offenses, man, scary hours.
I still got Ty in my top 3 for like Heisman votes and whatnot, and I do agree with you. They're a perennial powerhouse this season, going into the playoffs, and no doubt about it, they got to be one of the guys that we all consider to be, a top 3 favorite to win it all. But I still got Miami up there. I personally would. I still give a nod to Miami over Alabama in a matchup, but you definitely hit some good points there, Joe.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit this one out. I did not watch, but about maybe 2 minutes of this game.
Damon played well. I know all us Georgia homers will.
He did.
He did.
Wait,
play
Trip. Instead of making an analysis on a game that you didn't watch, you're just not going to say anything about it?
I mean, I could read a box score if you'd like me to. The only part I saw about
this joke. That was a joke, everybody.
No. Yeah, I know. I mean, the only part I saw about this game was I think somewhere in the 4th quarter. I was sitting down eating lunch, and I just happened to see it up on the TV while I was eating. But what's the name of the offensive lineman that they keep handing the ball off to?
Caden Proctor.
I saw them run a play with him, and
You're running a direct snap with him.
Yeah, that's the only thing I pretty much saw from this game. But I do want to give a shout out to Missouri. Missouri has made a lot of improvements over the last few years, and they just keep getting better and better. And they hung in this game all the way up until the end. I will give them that. But Alabama does look scary. If we do go to the SEC championship, which I don't know that we do this year, if we do, I don't want to play against them. I'll tell you that right now.
All right, I'll say this. Won't do a deep dive too much into the game, but shout out to Alabama. They hold hard. He's been the best running back in the league They're in the conference all year.
Country.
without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, yeah, arguably the country, definitely without a doubt the conference. And Alabama's front seven does what Alabama's front seven has done the last 25 years. They ball out. You know what I mean? Like Alabama's going to have a front seven. It's just given. So, I mean, I'm kind of with Joey. Alabama does look terrifying. And to go off what Graham said, I don't think there's a single team in the country that absolutely puts belt to ass against Alabama right now. I don't care who it is. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think they're beatable. Every team's beatable. We've talked about that any given week, but no one is putting belt to ass on Alabama. I don't think. I think they might, lose a close one, but I don't think no one's smacking them. But this is how I'm going to lead us into the pick'em. So, speaking on Missouri and playoffs, looking into that, Missouri ain't making playoffs. They're not even going to sniff playoffs, and here's why: Missouri has played only home games all year. They're about to go on the road all year. They've played only home games all year. They have not played one away game. Hey, I got to pull it up. Don't worry, buddy. I got you. Central Arkansas at home. Kansas
I didn't even see it for
home.
myself.
Louisiana Lafayette at home. South Carolina at home. UMass at home. Alabama at home. Guess what? This week on the road to Auburn, they lose, I think, because you're upset because you just beat Bama, and I think Bama beats them twice. On top of that, you're going into Jordan-Hare at night at 7:45. I think Auburn comes up with a win. I don't think it's Hugh Freeze's big win that he needs at Auburn, but I think it'll be a very credible win. And then Missouri falls off because then they got to face Vanderbilt, A&M, Mississippi State, who has not been bad, and then Oklahoma. I think this is where Missouri falls off the face of the earth. I'll be honest. I think Alabama beats them twice. I think they go into Auburn. They're going to have home field advantage, real home field advantage, Joey. You know what I'm talking about here. Jordan-Hare is going to be rocking, and I think this is Hugh Freeze's best shot at a top 25 win right here at Auburn. I really do, because I think Missouri, like I said, lets Bama beat them twice, but also they probably are looking ahead at their next 4 games afterwards, which is number 17 Vandy, number 4 A&M, unranked Mississippi State, but they're a good ball team, and then you got number 14 Oklahoma. I think this could be a bit of a trap game for Missouri, especially once I realize this is their first away game. I know we're not even supposed to be talking about Missouri versus Auburn, but once I realized this is their first away game, I'm like, dude, it's week 6. Like, you've played at home like 6 straight weeks.
And they still have another stretch on the schedule where they play 2 consecutive home games.
They play A&M and Mississippi State at home, which is insane. That's 8.
Yeah, those are back
games at home.
Wow, that's a crime.
Yeah. So just wanted to lead off the pick'ems with that. Y'all don't have to pick that game. I'm just going to call my upset of the week. Could be Auburn. I could be wrong. Missouri could be bounce back and kill them. But I think this is as good as a shot as any for Hugh Freeze to get a pretty credible win. Is all I'll say. And then we can go into whatever you want to run.
Honestly, I think that's a very good upset to pick. That one right there. For all the rhyme and reason that you just teed it up, I'm going to have to agree with that one. But yeah, I'll ride with you. I'll ride Auburn on that one.
Heard.
It's the perfect time to get off the mat for them.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with y'all boys. Missouri about to beat the dog shit out of Auburn. I'm gonna keep it a complete buck with you. I don't think that's the team that ruins their run that they're on right now, and I damn sure don't think they lose to Mississippi State. Mississippi State hasn't won an SEC game in like 760 days. So I do think there's definitely a couple games on that schedule that they're gonna lose, and it is gonna ruin that hot run that they're on. But I'll be damned if Hugh Freeze is the one to do that.
Man,
Hey, anytime you call out an upset, we all know that you're putting your head on the line. I'm putting my head out there, dude.
Yeah, I agree.
Sticking my neck out on that one. I think if there's ever a time for Missouri to lose one they shouldn't, and ever a time for Hugh Freeze to take advantage of one, it's this week.
Yeah, and I don't trust Hugh Freeze in those moments, brother. I'm gonna be honest with you. If Hugh Freeze wants to keep his job, he better win this game. That's all I'm gonna say. But
I agree.
I don't hate your pick, by the way. I'm not trying to dog you for your pick. I could easily see this being a game where Auburn pulls this out. I just don't trust Hugh Freeze in that moment, personally.
I understand.
Well, let's I guess we're all rolling on that. Let's look at our first game that we had on the list. Kicking off at noon, we've got LSU, number 10 LSU at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt 2.5-point favorite. I feel like this is also a really good time for I'm taking LSU in this one. I think this is a time for them to show Garrett Nussmeier's chance to say, "Hey, I still can play at this position." And LSU, because they're another team we may not agree that they are a playoff caliber team, but they got playoff aspirations and definitely have the road to get there. So I'm gonna take Vanderbilt to win this one because I think LSU they've got to, it's gonna be tough for them to make the playoffs if otherwise. So I'm taking LSU.
Wait, you just said you're taking Vanderbilt, and then you just said you're taking LSU. Which one is it?
Did I say that?
Yeah, and right before you just made that last statement, you said that I'm taking Vanderbilt, and then you said that's why I'm taking LSU.
I meant to say I'm taking them against Vanderbilt. My bad. I'm taking LSU to win this game.
Okay, I was about to say I need whoever y'all's plug is if y'all are picking Missouri to lose and LSU to lose. But yeah, I'm riding LSU in this one too. I did want to tell you guys, so Vanderbilt is a 2.5-point favorite against LSU this weekend. This is the first time that Vanderbilt has been favored over LSU since 1948. The Commodores have
Harry Truman.
The Commodores have been an underdog in 51 consecutive SEC games prior to this one. But I do like what they got going on at Vanderbilt this year. But I know that LSU is, like Joey said, like this is not a game you can lose if you want it to sniff the playoffs at all. So I'm definitely going to take LSU in this one. I think it's going to be a good game, though. I will say that.
I'll jump in here. I agree. I think this could be one of the better games, like a top 3 game of the week, to be honest. I think this week, at the end of next Tuesday, we could be sitting here talking about how great of a week college football was. And I think this game is one of the reasons why we could be having that conversation. I'm going to be honest. I want to pick Vandy, but then I look at the stats, and Vandy has a 12th best SEC pass defense. So that makes me want to think this is a perfect opportunity for Nussmeier to get on track here and turn the season around halfway through. So Vandy's at home. They got construction going on. Don't know if Vandy at home really means much to a team like LSU. I think I'm leaning LSU here, and I think history is probably the reason why, to be honest. But I think this is a perfect opportunity for Nussmeier to get it together and have a good game.
Who you got, Graham?
Oh shit.
Oh, is he?
I know he said his computer was dying, so
Yeah,
He did.
Might be
he
losing
might be
him.
tagging out right now.
Yeah, I think he's gone. Wait, it looks like he's moving.
He's trying. I think his computer's on the last leg, dude.
Yeah. Well.
Oh,
You there, Graham?
he's edging us.
I'm trying. Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Nah, man. Yeah, y'all already know Missouri gonna take care of business this week, man. Y'all know that. They gotta have a bounce back week after, taking I won't say a necessary L against Alabama, but as Joey and everybody's already alluded to this week, Alabama's a powerhouse this year. So that's just one of them L's that when you look at your roster stacked up against everybody on your schedule, this was always going to either be a 50-50 or one of them games that you kind of was going to be prepared to lose. You can't prepare to lose this game against Vandy, whether it's home or away. So that's where I'll put it.
You mean LSU? We're talking about LSU versus Vandy.
Yeah. Pardon me. Yeah. LSU. I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll jump on to the next one. This one you don't have to go. Obviously, any of them you don't. But we got 14 Oklahoma at South Carolina. If this is a game, it looks like Oklahoma's a 5.5-point favorite. 43.5 is the over/under. I'm taking the under on this one. I think Mateer being rusty this is a South Carolina defense, still one that wreaks havoc. Last week they had three takeaways against LSU. These guys still have really good pass rushers. Dylan Stewart, maybe the best defensive player in the country. But I think what South Carolina's inadequacies up front are going to be way too much to overcome against Oklahoma. So it's going to be an ugly one, and I'm taking Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. If I'm a betting man, I can't put any type of money on South Carolina's stinking asses this year. I know, Joey, you're going to be at this game, and I'm excited to hear how the experience goes because I think this is going to be a decent game. But for the sake of what I've seen this season, I think even a rusty Mateer makes it happen. So I'm going to take.
They also
Oklahoma.
did replace their offensive line coach this week, and apparently there's been a lot of progress made in practice. So
At South Carolina, Joey?
Say what?
South Carolina replaced their O-line coach?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, they need that. I saw something that said Lenore Sellers. How many rushing yards did he have this past week, Joey? I know you can probably tell me off the top of your head.
I think it was like 22 or something like that.
Yeah, he had 22 rushing yards, but apparently scrambled for a total of like 350 from what I saw.
I think on the season he's ran for like 984 or something crazy like that just because he drops back and then just starts running in circles.
Well, look like Mahomes against the Buccaneers that year. Jesus.
Yeah, no, it does. It's funny too because when he scrambles and runs,
have a bounce back week this week, man. I got them boys taking a dub this week.
I'm honestly, I mean, the way Mateer looked, I can't really blame you on that one.
And
honestly,
that's another reason why I feel that way, Joey. I feel like it's kind of like it's the perfect recipe for them to get that bounce back win because Shane Beamer and them boys absolutely need it. I think Beamer even pointed out in his press conference at this point last year they had the same record. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joey.
But, actually, yeah. I literally wrote an article about that today. About
I haven't got to tap into that article. I will definitely, but yeah, I think this is that pivotal moment of South Carolina season, and I got them boys responding for sure. I got them pulling it out, even in a close one.
They're gonna have to if they want to do anything. But we'll see. We're gonna skip time for the sake of we want to end it with our big game that we're gonna predict here. But we're going to go at night. We got another big SEC game. The third Saturday in October. Tennessee at Alabama. Alabama 7.5 point favorite. I am going to roll with Alabama on this one. Again, I think they're just the best. They're the hottest team in America right now. Ty Simpson versus a team who plays as much man-to-man coverage as Tennessee does. There goes Graham. His computer died, everybody. But they play so much man-to-man. This offense is too talented for Auburn or for Alabama, excuse me. Ty Simpson is too good right now. I think Alabama's gonna definitely it's a rivalry game, so it always gets weird. But it's at Alabama, 7.5 point favorite. They are. So I'm gonna roll. I'm rolling Alabama here.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Alabama in this as well. I do think Tennessee's offense is going to give them a lot of problems, but I think Ty Simpson is arguably the best quarterback in the country right now. So I don't see him, and he showed that he can compete like that under pressure. Does that say these tickets are $57? That is
yeah.
That is crazy.
We should go. Let's just go.
No, this is a slate that for football this week, and I want to be in front of the TV for everything. We're going to see some crazy football games this week.
No doubt.
Yeah, I think that Alabama pulls out a close one. I don't know that they cover 7.5. I think this could easily be a 7-point or less game. Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Tennessee beat Alabama last year, and we didn't expect them to pull that off. But I think that they have made a lot of upgrades since then, especially in the quarterback position. So I'm gonna take Alabama here.
Yeah, honestly, this is another game that I think is going to be a reason why next week we sit on this panel and talk about how great of a week it was for college football. Unfortunately, I'm getting thraxed this weekend. I work, and then on top of that, I agreed like 3 weeks ago to go to the United game, totally forgetting that this is the week Ole Miss plays Georgia. So I'm going to be watching Georgia Ole Miss on my phone and trying my best to tap. Good thing it's a United game, last 90 minutes. So try to tap in on the back end to some of these night games as well. But this one, with the way Alabama's rolling, it's hard to pick against them. And as much as, like, I'm not going to lie, like, in my head, Saban's not at Alabama. Therefore, Alabama loses not credibility, but they lose like the stature they had, right? Wrong. They keep proving me wrong every time. Like, I don't know why my brain is like, oh, there's no more Saban. Like, we're good. That's not the case. DeBoer's done a great job. Even though he loses the first game of the season, everybody's calling for his head because Bama fans don't know how to lose. However, DeBoer's done a great job filling in the shoes of Saban. Never thought somebody would step in and be doing what they're doing, like keeping them at the top, especially with the way everything switches with the transfer portal. But I mean, I got to give it to Bama here. I do think it's going to be another good game, 1 possession, 2 possession. And honestly, if it's a 2 possession, it kind of feels, and I feel the same way about LSU Vanderbilt. If it ends up being a game where on the score sheet it looks like out of hand, I feel like it's going to be like maybe a late turnover, a late pick 6 is going to be why. Like, I see it being a 10 points at max, unless there's like one of those crazy touchdowns at the end of the game. But I think Bama in this one for sure, just because kind of like Joey's saying, them boys are red hot. Them boys are rolling. So
no doubt. Well, one more before. Actually, we got 2 more. We can just hit on these real quick. I think this one we got number 20, USC at Notre Dame. Notre Dame 8.5-point favorite. I am gonna roll USC here. Pull off the quote unquote upset. I really like the way this offense looks. And Notre Dame, I think you're going to see their playoff hopes get vanished right here. I don't think they'll fall out of the top 25, even with what they have 2 losses right now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So with 3 losses, I don't see them falling out, especially to a ranked team. But I do kind of see this game ending their playoff push.
Go ahead, Logan.
I'll be honest. I wish this was a case where it was the NFL and teams could tie, because I couldn't care less about both of these teams. Like, screw USC and Notre Dame. I hope Notre Dame loses solely so that they're not in the playoff conversation at the end of the year, because if they win out, they will be.
I want to compliment you on correcting yourself to saying, if I couldn't care less. I hate when people say I could care less. If you could care less, then do it. I really appreciate you correcting that.
I appreciate the grammar police here. But, yeah, I mean, USC, I guess. I don't really know much about either one of these teams, I'll be completely honest. I try my best to avoid watching both of these teams. They're always overhyped. So they're 2 teams that I just could not care less about. But USC, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's good and cute that Notre Dame has found their way back into the top 15. Shocker. Just in time for them to play their last ranked opponent, I think, of the year. This is a must win for Notre Dame. I think that 8.5 points is a little too high for me. I'm actually taking USC as well. I thought I was going to be the only one to take them this week when we sent out the itinerary, but
fight on.
I'm gonna definitely take USC's offense. Looks really good. This is really one of the only games that they would be putting on their resume as a quality win this far this year. So I'm gonna be rooting for USC this week.
And I mean, also USC should be filled with confidence too after beating Michigan last week, honestly.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that could help maybe build some confidence going into a big matchup.
All right. One more before the big game. Number 23, Utah at BYU. I think Utah's back. They're rolling. Give me the Utes. They're also a favorite in this game. So give me the Utes.
It's another one. I'm going to be honest. This is such an uneducated pick here because I don't know anything about either one of these 2 teams this year. I'll be completely honest, but let's go BYU. Screw it. Why not? That's just a shot in the dark. I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm taking Utah here.
All right. Now we're into the big game. We're just trying to pull this game up. Number 5, Ole Miss at number 9, Georgia. Last year, past 2 times these guys have played, it's been domination. Georgia dominated Ole Miss at home in 2023, and last year Ole Miss dominated in a really nasty, stormy game where we thought Jackson Dart might not play. Austin Simmons comes and carves the defense, and then Jackson Dart comes back to do the same thing. So let's see. We got the FPI thing, ESPN Analytics giving Georgia 70% chance to win. Kind of seems egregious to me, but Georgia is an 8.5-point favorite to me, which is also kind of crazy. But all that to say, both these teams are still very good. One of obviously Ole Miss hadn't lost a game this year, but I think that's about to change. I think Ole Miss had a lot of problems in the red zone last weekend, as Lane Kiffin wittingly said in a press conference. And I think Georgia is. I think they're due for that game where they get the cobwebs off and play a complete game of football. And they know the stakes of this game. They know what they are playing for this year. I'm taking Georgia in this one.
Go ahead, Logan.
Can I believe I just picked Georgia?
No, I can't. Go ahead, Logan.
I'm gonna let you go, Trip, because mine's laggy right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think that Joey kind of hit the point. Yeah, you're lagging like crazy, but we can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're good. You're good now. I think that Joey hit just about all the points I plan on making. Georgia's due for a full 4-quarter matchup of actually playing their best football. With the remaining schedule that's left, with Texas, Georgia Tech both being teams on there, this is not one that you can let slip, especially with one loss already being in that column. I'm hoping this is a gunner show-out game, kind of like against Tennessee. I hope it's not as much of a nail-biter as a fan, but I could see a really similar outcome to that game where it's back and forth the whole time. But I am going to take Georgia to pull this one out in the end. I will say 8.5 spread is crazy.
I know. Yeah, I agree.
Being favored in this game is already crazy. Not really crazy, but like 8.5 is nuts. I don't know if they're just basing it off of how Ole Miss played last week or what, but that's kind of crazy. If Georgia wins this game, which I think they will, I think it's by 7 at the absolute most. I think it'd even be by 3.
I'll be completely honest. And last week obviously takes a toll in this. I still don't know what we are. I don't know how confident I am. Like, I was riding my high horse on LSU, obviously, but I repeatedly admitted that we knew LSU's offense was very suspect. I think one thing that gets me excited for this game, because I am excited for this game. 2 years ago, I told you, Joey, that we were going to get killed by y'all, and that's exactly what happened. Like, I'm always a realist. Last year, I expected y'all to handle us, to be honest. I thought it'd be closer, but I thought it'd be Georgia winning, and we played good. Dart hobbled around, did his thing. But, I mean, part of me is almost just like the same way people are dogging us for Wazoo is the same way I'm kind of like, maybe I'm wrong, and I feel like I might eat my words because I'm about to say this. I don't know if you can have that kind of game like Georgia had last week and beat us. But at the same time, we can't have the kind of game we had last week and beat y'all. So it's like it kind of goes hand in hand. I think Ole Miss loses one of the next 2 weeks. I think it's either to Georgia or Oklahoma. And the way things are shaking out right now, everything tells me we lose the game to Georgia and beat Oklahoma because Mateer doesn't look great, yada, yada, yada.
Did you just pick?
I did. I think Georgia wins in Sanford. I will admit, once again, I don't know what it is. I don't believe in Georgia's offense at all. Like, I will be completely honest. And at the same time, I look at the defense, and nothing jumps off the page at the defense either. Especially the fact that y'all's front seven's not getting to the quarterback like usual. That just blows my mind. But I don't know. Something tells me that Kirby Smart, like kind of like Tripp saying, y'all are so due for 4 quarters of great football. It's unreal. Like, y'all haven't all year. Not all year have I seen 4 quarters of great football.
Neither have I.
So I think this is the game where y'all figure it out, and it pains me to say that. But I do think this is a game where Kirby Smart just foot on the gas for 4 quarters. And I think we stick around in the game, and I think it's a good game. But I do think y'all are going to come away with it. And like I said, there's nothing offensively that makes me think y'all are better, or defensively that makes me think y'all are better. And I mean, I kind of feel the same way about Ole Miss, though. There's nothing that really makes me feel like oh no, we got this, or oh no, like we should win. Like I don't know. Both teams have question marks to me, to be honest. But looking at the box score, if you look at Gunnar Stockton and Chambliss' stats side by side, and this is Chambliss not playing 2 games, keep that in mind. Chambliss is literally having a better season than Stockton, like on paper. Like he has 39 less passing yards, 1 more touchdown, same amount of interceptions, and like 20-something more yards. And at first I look at that and I'm like, oh, okay, they're pretty even. But then I have to remind myself, Chambliss did not play 2 weeks. So, I mean.
Yeah, and not that it excuses it, but Georgia also played 3 games where people are dropping 8 in coverage. So he's not, and it's against way better, like teams that is way bigger talent gap in. So it's a lot of dumping and dinking. Also putting that in context. But like you said, in 2 less games, I mean, Georgia's offense isn't like Zachariah Branch is super special, our receiver. But yeah, quarterback, I agree, not super impressive. But sounds like we got all of our picks locked in.
And I will say this. I honestly think the biggest factor in me picking Georgia is Chambliss is never, and I mean never, and never again will either, but never in his career is he going to face this kind of Kirby Smart defense. Like, yeah, LSU was good, but I just believe in Kirby Smart a lot more and the Dogs a lot more than LSU and what Kelly has going on. So
Venables is a tough guy to face too next week.
I think if there's ever a time where Chambliss gets rattled, this is the week, to be honest. He might look out of place for more than a drive like he did against LSU, or 2 drives, whatever. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, we shall see. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Had a little bit of a long one today, but thank you guys as always tuning in. We'll be back with our NFL episode as well. That
Joey,
ain't it.
one last thing.
Go ahead. Get it out the way.
Ole Miss is number 1 in the SEC. I said it before LSU. I think this might be the last week I'm able to say it. I will say it until I can't anymore. And God willing, I say it all year because that'd be beautiful. Ole Miss is number 1 in the SEC, although I think we lose, and then A&M and Bama win this week, so we are no longer going to be. But last week saying it most likely, unless it's not. Ole Miss is number 1 in the SEC.
All right. Well, on that sad note, we'll let y'all go. So appreciate everybody. Peace.
See ya.